Hey everyone, it's Mary Ann from the New York City Organization of Public Service Retirees. Today is Friday, April 4th, and this is our typical Friday night live. And today we have a great guest with us. It is Frank Morano, who is running for City Council in District 51, taking the place of Joe Borelli's office since he had stepped down. So what I want to do is go start with just a little bit of a quick update for you. Hey, everybody. Good to see you. Hey, Anne. Nice to see you, too. Hi, Laura. Yes, thank God it's Friday. So take out your pens and paper because I want to make sure you've got your dates down. And I, again, will put up an email probably tomorrow morning, and with, again, all of the dates that you need to keep on top of. So first, the Bentkowski case. You know that case is going back to court. The mayor appealed our unanimous appeals decision, and it is going back to the highest court in the state, the New York State Court of Appeals in Albany. We will be there. On May 15th, we are taking 2 buses with us. So when you get your newsletter again, or you're on our Facebook page, please register to come with us. We are then taking that bus like we did the last time, leaving from City Hall. It will leave at about 8:30 in the morning. We need to be up in Albany by 1, and we need to be back down to City Hall by 7. So that is April 7th. That is May 15th. That is very, very important. May 15th, sign up for the bus. Okay. On our website, nycretirees.org, we have our homework assignments. As I told you, because DC 37 made a complaint to Action Network about our emails, they shut down our account. But have no fear. I remember computer programming from when I was a young person, when we did it the old school ways, and was able to code some HTML into our email, into our website to create emails. But this time you get to be more personal with them rather than me write them. We have a short little blurb, keep it short and simple, but you just need to sign your name and you're free to add anything else you want. Oh, and if you scroll further down, you can surely let Harry Nisboli, Michael Mulgrew, and Henry Garrido know exactly how you feel. Because there's one email that goes directly to the 3 of them. We didn't forget them. We wanted to share the love, but that one's separate all the way down at the bottom. So you will see that there's email links for the city council. There's also emails to stop the pension Ponzi scheme, so you can go ahead and continue those. And we narrowed those down basically to the governor, the speaker, and the majority leader, just to make it short and simple, okay? Those are on our website. Now, April. So April 16th, April 17th, April 21st, and April 29th. Let's break each one of those down. April 16th, we are meeting at City Hall Park. We are doing petitioning for a rally and petitioning for one of our first mayoral candidates that we endorsed, Jim Walden. So please come out to that. We're asking you to RSVP on that link that I sent out the other day. And we're also trying to help him coordinate some of you that are in the outer boroughs that can't get into Manhattan. Let us know where the need is. If there's a great need in Queens, he will go to Queens. If there's a great need in Staten Island, he will go to Staten Island. Wherever you guys are and you want to come out to do this, he will help you make sure that he gets there to you. So that's the 16th. The 17th is the mayoral event. The New York City Retirees is hosting their first ever retiree mayoral event. The candidates, almost all of them are showing up. We decided to change it from a forum to a debate. This is going to be exciting, folks. So make sure you also register for that. You must eventually get an email from us to confirm that you are on that list. And then we will start that confirmation process very, very soon, because that is the 17th. It is in Manhattan at the Graduate Center. And we're looking forward to seeing that. We have about 400 seats to fill, and I want to see each and every one of your tushies in those seats. That's the 17th of April. Now, April 21st and April 29th, our guest is going to talk to you a little bit about his election. There's a special election in Staten Island to fill the city council seat for District 51. Early voting starts on the 21st, and then the special election is on the 29th. So for all you Staten Islanders, we want to make sure that you are coming out for that election. Yes, Ms. Maggie, our mayoral event will be streamed. We are just finished the contracting setup with the vendor that we hired to do the live stream as well. But we really do need a really good, strong presence at that event. And you will eventually, when you register on our list to come in person, you do not need to register if you want to stay and watch it at home. But I do need you to register because you will need to get a registration number to show up in person. So that's what I have about that. Laura, Jim Walden deserves all the support he can get. I will be there. Thank you, Laura. I look forward to seeing you. You did a great job with the reprogramming. Thank you. Good idea to let Henry and Harry know they can't stop us. No, they can't. Sorry, I had to be brief, but it did take me a couple of days to remember it. It wasn't as easy as it was. And even the new plug and play features of your website don't always let you do that so freely. Ellen says she'll be on the bus on May 15th. I'll be on the May 15th bus. Come join me. Looking forward to meeting so many of you in person. Absolutely. Now you get to meet everyone you talk to on Facebook. Lynn Aurora, I will make sure that Frank sees you. Lynn, it says Lynn Carletti. I will make sure Frank sees you. Don't worry. Okay, so I want to get started because I think our guest has like a hard 7 p.m. stop. I know he's extremely busy as he's getting ready to get ready for this election. So I'm going to bring in Frank. I did that in less than 10 minutes, guys. And I was on time today, too. You should be very proud of me. All right, welcome, everyone. Here's Frank Morano.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be here. Hi, Marianne.
Hi, nice to see you too. You've got some fans in here.
Wonderful. Hopefully more than a few. Well, it's mutual because I'm a fan of yours and a fan of everybody that has been working with you in order to make sure the city keeps its word. I know a lot of you were on our call yesterday. I don't remember if it was yesterday or the day before. I've kind of lost track.
All our days are turned into short.
Exactly. I know Marianne, the Ellens, and Laura, I think was all on yesterday's call. So I'll endeavor not to be too duplicative. I really want to be responsive to any questions you guys have, but I want to thank everybody for making the time to join this call and for your continued advocacy. Like I said, I know a lot of you were part of our earlier discussion, and I really want to begin by saying how inspired I was by the passion, the clarity, and the commitment that each of you brought to the table, not just in our previous discussion, but previously and throughout this entire fight. And I'm joining you today, not just as someone who supports your cause, but as someone who's in the fight with you. I'm hoping to be there at the Court of Appeals on May 15th. If there's room on one of the buses, great. If not, I'll drive up there, hopefully as a council.
There's room. There's room. I'll make sure you have. I would love to have you there.
Yeah, I'm hoping to be a council member by then. I'm under no illusions about how hard this battle has been. You've been ignored, sidelined, and in some cases, and I just learned this week, outright disrespected by the very people who should be thanking you for your service. It's outrageous. It's unacceptable. And what's even more disturbing is the larger trend that we're seeing, an erosion of trust in government and a slow motion attempt to dismantle the promises made to working people. This is not just about healthcare. It's not just about you, quite frankly. It's about honor, dignity, and justice. So today, while I won't repeat everything I said yesterday or the day before, I want to reaffirm a few things for anybody that wasn't on our previous discussion. I still believe promises made should be promises kept, full stop, period. I'm committed to doing everything in my power as a candidate and then hopefully as a council member to protect your access to traditional Medicare and oppose the forced switch to Medicare Advantage. And I'm ready to use my platform and hopefully my vote on the city council to be a loud, persistent, and effective voice for all of you. This isn't just your fight, it's our fight. And with your help, we're going to keep building pressure, shining a light on this issue, and pushing every lever we have, legislative, media, political, until this city treats its retirees with the respect and fairness that you deserve. Let's keep going. Let's keep organizing, and you've done an incredible job already. Let's win this together as we cross the finish line.
Yay, that's what. And then you will be eventually a retiree, Frank, and this will also affect you.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
So Bella Holden says, thanks for your support, Frank. You have my vote.
Thank you, Bella. I hope you live in the 51st Council District. If not, you may have to move by April 29th.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. There was someone else said they were from Tottenville, and I just lost
Oh,
her.
great. That's where my parents live. They're on Finlay
Lois
Street.
Schwartz.
Oh,
Tottenville.
Lois, how are you? You may see my dad running around. He looks younger than I do, so you may not know he's my dad. So be sure to beep at him when you see him running around.
That's great. Laura says, yes, I agree with Ellen. Frank was great with our questions the other morning. Fantastic for Frank to join us at the Court of Appeals. Mary, he's the real deal.
Thank you. And today I did speak with a staffer from the Common Sense Caucus of the City Council, which I'm planning to sit with if I am elected. And they reiterated that they're going to be submitting an amicus brief in advance of those Court of Appeals.
They did. We were so happy about that. Vicky Palladino posted about it a couple of days ago because all documents had to be in like last week. And was it this week? Anyway,
yeah, whenever they were, they wanted to make sure that I was aware of that, and that everybody here was too.
Yes, and they were the only caucus, by the way, not the Democratic caucus, not the Progressive caucus, not any other caucus. And there's many other caucuses in the City Council. Not one would take our phone call to do it, and they did. And this is the second time, by the way, that they did. So we were very happy. Absolutely happy to see that. Ellen says, I love the Common Sense Caucus.
Me too. The last bastion of sanity on so many different issues, including this one in the City Council. As Marianne alluded to, I think there are 51 members. I think there might be 60 different caucuses within the City Council.
Laura says, wow, Frank, I'm not used to hearing a candidate be so full-throated about our fight. Is really that easy, right?
As far as I'm concerned, look, I think it's one thing if we wanted to have a discussion about changing benefits or healthcare benefits for future retirees, for future workers, but to tell people that in many cases passed up higher paying jobs in the private sector because of the expectation of Medicare, traditional Medicare, and certain retirement benefits as a city worker, to tell them to pull the rug out from under them and shrug and say, well, you screwed up, you trusted us. To me, that's a non-starter. And I'm totally unconvinced of the perceived fiscal benefits to the city if you go through with this.
John says the city blows $600 million a year in recurring and all kinds of silly nonsense. We currently pay almost $2 billion yearly in investment fees to the city's 5 pension systems. Ensuring what we can recruit and retain quality people to be career cops, teachers, and EMTs should be the top priority. It absolutely should. And that's why I think we're so short-staffed, and we've been short-staffed. It's just we're not respecting the workers, enough.
I agree.
Yeah, they're watching us be very public about being screwed in retirement. Why would anyone then want to risk joining the city to know that? And this is the crazy part of that, Frank, is that this affects council members, non-union people as well. We have 1/3 of our base is also non-union, meaning they were never in a union because they're policymakers. They were lawyers, commissioners, heads of department, lawyers, city council members, mayors. This is their healthcare. And they've never been in a union, but this city health program is their health program. Mm-hmm. So if we're not keeping our union leaders on the right side of history, knowing that they shouldn't be privatizing a federal public health benefit or clawing back benefits to a retired person, what would make someone want to take a job and stay in that job for the long haul?
I think that's really the crux of the entire argument, right? I mean, I don't know why anyone would trust the city to keep its word on anything if the city has shown itself to be completely untrustworthy. I think that's it. I think it would be devastating for the morale of present retirees, present city workers, and future retirees, and future city workers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that also it shows that people are starting to pay attention. This person says, yes, working to educate actives daily because they don't recognize this. I mean, look, we know that when we were working and busy and we were raising families, we didn't always think about what this argument is today. We didn't think about Medicare or what our healthcare would be like when we're 60, 70, or 80 years old or 90 years old. My oldest retiree is 102.
Wow.
I know.
God bless.
Yes, we say live long and prosper and collect a lot of pension checks, and that person did.
Really?
Yes, so it's kind of exciting to know that to educate people that this is what you earned. You gave up those reduced wages for that. This is what you earned. This was like a form of deferred compensation, if you will. Take these lower wages, give up these benefits, and when you retire, you'll have a pension and you'll have health care. And now that we're retired and we have our pension, and our pensions are protected from diminution by the state constitution, by the way, Article 5, Section 7 prevents your pension from being diminished. However, nothing protects your health care from being diminished. So our bill that's currently in city council, and we do have one in the state, we modeled it after Article 5, Section 7 of the Constitution as to not diminish a health benefit for a retired person. And we don't understand why we're getting all that flack. So when we broke down the bill and they were saying, well, the unions were saying it violates collective bargaining. We were like, no, it doesn't. We're not in the union. Oh, it violates the Taylor law. No, it doesn't. The Taylor law protects employees. We're retirees. Look at your contract. Article 1 of every contract says who the union represents. It doesn't say retiree. So then Henry Garrido said, it interferes with our negotiating. And I said, well, I may give him that one. And they're like, why would you give him that one? And I said, it shuts my pocketbook. It keeps their hands out of my pockets. And if you don't pass the bill, they're going to keep sticking their hands in our pocket and stealing what I got. If you pass this bill, it protects what I earned from being stolen. That's how it interferes with his negotiations. And they were like, oh, good point. Didn't think about it that way. I said, I didn't think I'd ever have to say that out loud.
Well, thank goodness you did, and thank goodness somebody's willing to speak to not only the retirees but the active members in a manner that's easy for them to understand, and that's just very forthright.
Ellen says, I worked for the city as an attorney and could have earned so much more in the private sector, but the promised healthcare benefits were why I joined. No medical underwriting for the city's Medigap. Yep. So what that means is no underwriting is you don't have to go through a medical underwriting where they'll ask you questions about your prior pre-existing conditions and potentially deny you because you're on a city employer plan. You're protected from that. But if the city is successful in this next court case that we have and the higher court overturns the lower courts, the mayor could eliminate all of our choices of health plans, including our supplement that protects us and keeps us in traditional Medicare and forces us into that Medicare Advantage plan that many of our doctors and hospitals don't accept and allows the insurance company to become the gatekeeper to all of our care. If that happens and you want to stay in traditional Medicare, you will have to undergo underwriting depending what state you're in. If you are not in New York, Maine, Massachusetts, or Connecticut, you will have to undergo underwriting. And if in your 60s or 70s, 80s, 90s, 102, you have a pre-existing condition, you may be denied a supplemental plan. If they offer you one, the cost could be so prohibitive, you may never be able to afford it. You'll always have your Medicare that pays the first 80%, but that last 20% will be on you. And that would surely put people into medical debt or in managed care. So it's definitely important to know that. Gene says, what's Cuomo's position on this? I'm unclear. So am I, Gene. Cuomo hasn't answered my email or my phone call. So I'll let you know when I hear from him, if I hear from him.
I mean, given the governor's track record, I think it's a good bet that at some point he will have every position on this issue, just as he does on all the issues that he's running on now, which happen to be the opposite of the issues that he spearheaded as governor. So I'm sure eventually, whatever your position is, Governor Cuomo will eventually take it.
Well, I'm hoping he will call and let us know what his position is and then clear up all this gray area. Well, we'll find that out. Matthew says, thank you for your strong support. You have reached out. Have you reached out to any of the current elected officials to understand why specifically they're not supporting 1096, i.e., for example, it's legality? Have you heard of anything?
Not really. The thing that I had heard was about the collective bargaining issue, but in speaking with Council Member Palladino and others, I think that some minor procedural issue it doesn't do anything in terms of convincing me that it's not within the city council's purview.
Right.
So I have spoken with everybody on both sides of the issue, and with an open mind, genuinely. But I am totally unconvinced about the argument that it's not legal. The response, they've been a mix of political tap dancing and in some cases a lack of courage. And I'm talking about both sides of the aisle. Some have raised vague concerns about the legality of the council involving itself in healthcare choices, but when pressed, not a lot of them can point to a single legal opinion or a precedent that actually backs that up. The truth is, I think many of them are afraid to go against the mayor or the insurance industry interests that are behind this Medicare Advantage push. They're hiding behind procedural arguments and pretending it's a legal gray area, when really it's pretty clear legally. I think it's also pretty clear morally and ethically. And let's be honest, since when has it been considered illegal for the council to protect people's health care? If there's any legal gray area, that's exactly why Intro 1096 is so important, to make the city's obligation clear in law and eliminate any room for future administrations to play games with retiree benefits. So yes, I'm talking to them. I'm continuing to talk to them. I'll keep pushing, but we also need to keep the pressure on together, because ultimately what you say matters a lot more than what I say. Because when the constituents speak out forcefully, as you guys have, and publicly, that's when politicians suddenly find their spines.
I would hope so, Frank, because we've been on the street with this for 4 years, and there are some still that, I don't know, they kind of look like jellyfish at this point. But yes, that's disturbing. And yes, even their own lawyer, the Municipal Labor Committee's own lawyer, says it wasn't illegal. We have Alan Klinger, the attorney for the unions, on audio that someone gave us from a meeting that we were allowed to listen to, but they did the audio, and he says it was last year's bill. And someone was asked, one of the union representatives was saying, why do you keep saying that the bill is illegal? Like, the bill literally says it doesn't interfere in collective bargaining. Why do you keep saying it interferes in bargaining? And he goes, well, it can't by itself be, interfere or be illegal in bargaining. But what it would do is, if the city had to pay for those retirees, it would be less than it would pay for you. I was like, whoo, that's really cold. Like, he's literally saying, if you steal what them old people got, then you will have more money. But he just created a them versus us, and he doesn't even let them. And I'm sad to say, not all of them in that room agreed with him, but they didn't speak out. I will tell you that not all the unions agreed with that, with what they did, but they didn't have the power, because of the Municipal Labor Committee's weighted voting structure, one vote for every 250 members. The two largest unions could basically sway that 2/3 vote to pass a motion. And so while they could not muster the ability to do that, it was very frustrating for them, because they're watching their benefits for their retired members be sold down the river. Yeah. And it was very horrible. They never changed those rules since 1966. We're encouraging them to do that as well. But yes, that's exactly how that one went down. So to hear their own lawyer say, if you don't take from them, it's less that the city will give from you. And they don't even see we are their future. They don't even see we built their union. We built this city after 9/11. We rebuilt this city. It was a complete disconnect, Frank. It was sad.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what it seems to me, and I'm grateful that the courts have done the right thing thus far. But clearly, there's a long way to go, not just through the court system, but legislatively as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Laura says, one of the tactics many council members have used to ignore our fight is to tell us we must be their constituents to be heard, even if we're lucky being heard as constituents, if we're even lucky to be heard as, yes, there's many council members that won't even listen to their own constituents.
And that's it's ridiculous. You're exactly right. Was it Laura that said that? And that kind of response is both lazy and dishonest because let's be clear, every retiree served this city. You kept it running through blizzards, blackouts, emergencies, everything in between. You may not currently live in every council member's district, but you helped build this city and its budget. The one that funds their salaries and their pet projects comes from your work and your promises. So when they say you're not my constituent, what they're really saying is I don't want to deal with this. It's a dodge, and frankly, it's insulting. When lobbyists call them from out of state, they take the meeting. When developers line up to make campaign contributions, no one asks what zip code they live in. But when a retired sanitation worker or a teacher calls about health care they were promised, suddenly the council members' ears stop working. That's not how democracy is supposed to work. And if I have the honor of serving on the council, I'll never use that excuse, not just with you, but with anybody. Anyone fighting for justice in New York City, especially the people who built it, deserves to be heard. And I'll keep calling out this kind of dismissive nonsense until they all get the message.
Hey, Frank, do you want to run for governor?
I appreciate the endorsement, but I'm content to represent my neighborhood in the city council when it comes to that.
I think your kids will love the snow in Albany.
Yeah, he may.
I'm glad I made you laugh. Patricia says, thank you. Janice Weiss says, so true. Pamela says, she loves how you get us. Like, you totally understand.
Thank you. I likewise. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Ellen says, regarding our pending New York State healthcare protection legislation and the pension Ponzi bill, when we contact the governor's office, they don't even take our constituent info. And when we email, we get no reply.
Yeah, I covered this a little bit with you guys yesterday. I think it's crazy. I've heard that since our conversation from so many of you. I find it completely unacceptable when the governor's office or any politician, quite frankly, doesn't even bother to take your name or ask where you live. It's not just a failure of customer service. It's a failure of democracy. You're not asking for a favor. You're demanding accountability from public servants who work for you. And the fact that you're being met with scripted emails and brush-offs, it's so incredibly disrespectful. The bills you're talking about, both the legislation at the municipal level and at the state level and in the state budget with the Ponzi scheme bill to protect retiree health care and the so-called pension protection bill, which has got to be the worst named legislation ever. It's really a Ponzi scheme dressed up as reform. They're too important to be ignored. So my suggestion would be we don't stop at the governor's general office. We go to specific staff. We reach out to regional offices and we coordinate public pressure, letters to the editor, radio shows, local press, even protests if necessary. Governors notice when an issue starts getting airtime and headlines. And if I'm elected to the city council in 25 days, I'll use every channel I have, including media and political contacts, to amplify your voices and demand that the governor listen. This isn't going away, and neither are we.
Yes, absolutely. We're not going anywhere. Ellen says, I think that everyone should know that Frank had you on the radio twice, Marianne. He supported us practically from the beginning. He did. And he actually introduced us to Arthur Idala. And that's how I met that whole team there that's been helping us with our government relations and all of that. You actually started that. You reminded me of that. I totally forgot how my brain is so fried from this, Frank.
I get it. But, Arthur's mother is a teacher, retired teacher, and
Yes.
Arthur's sister is a teacher. So it's an issue very near and dear to him. And, obviously, I wish I could take full credit, but Arthur's just a big listener to our show. So he loves copying my ideas. So when he heard, will you come on with me and the kind of passion that you have, he was all about having you on his show. And then clearly the rest is history. I'm glad it's worked out for everybody.
Yes, absolutely. Alicia Vicuna is, how are you doing? She's running for District 30. She's another one of our friends. She's running for Bob Holden's seat. So Alicia's here in the house listening. Joe, nice to see you, Joe. Says Frank, good evening. Thank you for taking the time to speak with the group. I'm a South Shore resident and appreciate your stated support for the group's position on maintaining traditional Medicare for retirees. Additionally, I would like to know if we have your support on pushing the administration to release all information related to what they knew about the 9/11 toxins. Also, will you push our congressional folks to continue to support the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund and the World Trade Center Health Plan funding?
Thank you. And if you listen to my radio program, and Ellen Metzger may remember this, since I know she I think has a better memory for the things I've said on the radio than I do. You know the answer to this. But as a fellow South Shore resident, I really appreciate you being involved and staying engaged on these critical issues. But to your questions, yes, you have my full support on both counts. First, when it comes to the 9/11 toxins, we deserve transparency, period. The idea that any level of government may have had information about the dangers and failed to disclose it, or worse, deliberately downplayed it, it's infuriating. If elected, I will absolutely push the administration, whoever that administration is, to release all available records and internal communications related to what they knew, when they knew it, and how decisions were made in the aftermath. And second, I think the other thing you mentioned was when it comes to the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund and the World Trade Center Health Program. Those programs are lifelines. And look, being a Staten Islander as you are, clearly, we know a lot of people that were there and worked in the aftermath of September 11th. And we owe it to every responder, every survivor, every family member to make sure they stay funded permanently.
Yes.
I may be running for city council, but that doesn't mean I'll stay quiet on federal issues. I will absolutely use my voice on air and in office to call on our congressional delegation to keep fighting for those funds and make sure the federal government never walks away from its responsibility. So short answer, yes, you got my support. And more than that, you've got my voice in this fight.
We appreciate that. And actually, both of our voices would be very powerful with the reach that we have on our social media and radio with this national program. So we're starting another fight right now, which, well, we've kind of been in a few, but I guess I like to pick real good ones. This next one is still continuing the World Trade Center program, is in truth to Joe's question, is that they just removed, they laid off a bunch of people. The federal government laid off a lot of health and human services employees, including John Howard, the World Trade Center health chair. And John was with us, and I was actually on that very first steering committee back in the early 2000s when we built the national program. And there's been a lot of problems with that national program. You know, we can talk about that again, but later, in that the program doesn't have a full network. There's not a network of doctors. It's literally a ghost network. And couple of months ago, I was down in Lower Manhattan, and I tried to get into Letitia James's office to discuss with them, because there is a law on the books in the city of New York that ghost networks on insurance companies are illegal. And the World Trade Center Health Program's has a ghost network. There are retirees that live even in New York State, in upper New York State or out east, that they cannot get to doctors without coming into Manhattan to go to the World Trade Center program, or even Stony Brook is the other one, but they wouldn't necessarily be in the Mount Sinai program. If they have to come into Mount Sinai, meaning like we had one of our retirees come in from upstate, or we have retirees that move out of the state, the state of New York, and they cannot find providers in the state that they currently reside. We had one active employee. Remember 9/11, we had responders come from around the country to help us. So we had an incident management commander come from Oregon. And his name was Mike Larai. Mike recently just passed away. He required a double lung transplant due to his illness from World Trade Center exposure. Newly married, had to go from Oregon to Arizona for healthcare. And with the World Trade Center program. And then the World Trade Center program was giving him a hard time run. And the reason why is it wasn't the program per se, it's how it's being managed. The new vendor that they chose, they went from LHI to Sedgwick, owned by the Carlyle Group, which is a private equity firm. And they literally pride themselves in making money off of government subsidies. So it was kind of ugly that they got these billions of dollars to take care of us, but there's no doctor. So let's say one of my retirees lives in Florida, you were to call up and say, hey, I need a doctor living, in this area that is this specialty. And they'll say, okay, we'll get back to you. And they're like, what do you mean? Can't you just like pull it up? And they're like, no, we'll get back to you. And then like 2 weeks goes by and they call back again and they're like, do you have the doctors? Like, could you give me a couple doctors in my neighborhood? Well, it's taking us some time. We have to call all the doctors in the area to find out if they'll take our plan. And we're like, excuse me? Like, don't you have doctors in a plan? Didn't you have a plan when the federal government actually chose you as a vendor? You told them you had a network of providers. That was all a ruse. Meanwhile, they got the cash, but they're not providing the service.
Ellen, just for my benefit, and I think based on and pardon my ignorance on this one, and based on the context in which you just explained that, I think I understand. But could you just define for my benefit, and again, maybe I should admit that I don't know this, what a ghost network is? When we use that term ghost network, what does that mean?
What a great question. Okay. A ghost network. So you are in an insurance plan, like the World Trade Center plan. You expect them to have a network of doctors. They even say they have a network of doctors. They may even provide you with a list or a link online that says, these are our doctors. But when you call them, they'll say, sorry, I'm not taking more patients, or sorry, I don't take that insurance. Now, they published a network, but it's not real. Some of them are dead. Some of them no longer take the plan. It's not real. It looks like a network, but it's a ghost network. It's not a legitimate network because either the doctors are dead, they're not current, they're not taking their plan, they're not taking new patients. It's not a real network of providers because I should be able to pull up, and this was how we knew something was wrong. The World Trade Center program had a link on their website and it said, find your provider. And you would put in like your zip code and the provider specialty that you needed. No doctors would come up, no matter what zip code you put in. And we were like, this is insane. Maybe the tool's broken. So we called. No, the tool's not broken. The tool's functioning. Don't worry about it. Just keep trying. It wasn't working. And then finally, they members called me and I called my contacts in CDC NIOSH and they said, yeah, we know that we're having a problem with it. And then last year, we started pushing the issue because my retirees that moved out of New York State said, I'm not finding doctors in the World Trade Center program, and I'm having to go back to New York to get health care. Now, we called Nicole's office on this. Me and John, here's John Manning in here. John and I called Nicole, and we spoke to a gentleman in her office, and we hadn't really got a follow-up. So maybe that's something that you'd be able to work with us on.
But yeah, I may see Nicole this weekend. So if I do, I'll bring it up with her.
We want to bring back, we want to bring the program back to where it used to be 15 years ago, where it was literally functioning. This vendor's contract was a 4-year contract. I think it was signed in like 22. And they're telling me after 4 years, then they'll put it back out to bid. And I'm like, no, taxpayer dollars are going out right now for this program. And the people that are suffering are the people that need health care, which is why it's so important. I'm going to tie it to our own issue. Is in order for me to get care under that World Trade Center program, I have to have a certified illness. And I can't get my illness certified if I can't get the tests in place to be diagnosed. So if I'm in managed care and I don't have doctors in the network, or I don't have doctors are getting denied to provide the tests that they need, let's say to diagnose a cancer or an interstitial lung disease or some kind of a growth on my lungs, then I'm waiting time and time and time. And if you see a growth on your lung and you know that you're a 9/11 responder or survivor, that could very quickly manifest to cancer. And the more time you wait to have it diagnosed, the more of a problem you have. So if you're in managed care, this becomes an even more of a serious concern because then there's a delay in you getting diagnosed, then there's a delay in getting you treated. Once you have that, then you have to take that diagnosis and give it to the World Trade Center program and hope that they certify that as World Trade Center related, where they will pick up the costs so that you're not paying. And the drugs and whatever, surgeries, whatever else you need. And because Mayor Adams and some of the union leaders like DC 37 and the United Federation of Teachers just smacked copays on all of my retirees now $15 on every single service. If they're attached to a facility, it's an additional 15. So those $15 copays now look like 30. You go for cancer treatment 3 times a week, it's 30, 30, and 30. You need a blood test, it's another 30. And I told you how much we make. We're not wealthy retirees. You know,
Sure.
2/3 of DC 37 makes under $35,000, and 1/3 of them make under 12,000 a year, and our increases are only 1 to 3% of the CPI. So at 1.8% this year, our increase was $324. So this is not something that they can afford. And it's frustrating because this is why we have to have our healthcare. It's even more important to have traditional Medicare. So those ghost networks prevent you from finding a provider. You leave New York, you think, oh, I'm going to Florida. It's a big area, very well populated. I'll get my World Trade Center care there. This retiree needed psychology for PTSD. And so like when you have post-traumatic stress disorder, you sometimes see a psychiatrist. They may provide you meds, and then you see a psychologist for your periodic counseling. If you can't find those doctors, you're paying out of pocket for that.
Right. No, I thank you for the education, and I understood that it was, a perilous path that a lot of these retirees were going down. I'd not heard that term ghost network before, but it makes perfect sense the way it's used and the way you describe it.
Yeah, they make it look like it's there, but it's really a facade. It's like a house of cards. It's not real. It's a ghost.
Understood.
So thank you for asking, because maybe someone else didn't know that question. And
no, this is a group that's much better informed than I am. So I bet you they all knew it.
Yeah. They are so well trained and educated right now. It is just a beautiful thing. Ellen says, there's another Eileen. Sorry. Eileen says, I'm in physical therapy yet watching. See, I just had PT today. I was at court with this group, Frank, in November, and one of my retirees got stuck in the revolving door, and I went to turn around to grab the door so she wouldn't get squished, and I didn't realize I took a step down. And when I took the step down and I went to move to go to her, my feet wouldn't move.
Oh, geez.
I literally fell like a tree, and I hurt my shoulder, and I got diagnosed with frozen shoulder. Dude, this is the most painful thing. This shoulder keeps me up every single night now since November. Man. And I got PT 3 times a week. So I'm like the hair club for men. This affects me too.
Yeah, I get it. I'm fighting for your healthcare just as much as anybody else.
Yes, you are. Absolutely.
I get it. Sorry about that, though. That's right.
You're infatigable. Yeah. I know. We were just talking about that before, Ellen. We were talking about our coffee and espresso. Sandy says, Frank, you make me wish I was back in New York to vote for you.
We got to get you back. Move back, Sandy. I need you.
That's
Thank
true.
You. I appreciate that. We
need to have a retiree building, like where we could have like a retiree housing complex where we could all go.
Well, I actually think that's a great idea. I had an interview with the editorial board of the Staten Island Advance. And I actually I've lost track of what I've said in what interview. It might have even been on Arthur Idala's show. And I mentioned when he asked if you had a wish list of anything you could wave a magic wand and put in your district. That's what I said. I think there's a big need for senior housing. And you have all these people in our community who grew up here, raised their children here. And it's a shame that once they get to an age where they no longer want to shovel snow, that they're forced to move elsewhere. And I'd love to find a way to keep them here, whether it's a retiree compound or a specialized senior housing or something else. I take that very seriously. I'd like to do something on that.
I love that idea. That I was telling someone the history of Electchester Local 3 in Queens, New York, which was actually built by Local 3 IBEW Local 3 electricians, and Electchester still stands. Let's see, John, this is another interesting thing we can educate you on, Frank. So John says, where does Frank stand on excessive premium increases on long-term care policies from Genworth Insurance Company approved by the State Department of Financial Services at highest level requested Superintendent Harris? Let me explain that. So many people purchase a long-term care plan. This is, my mom had one. It was typically for people who are younger that buy it, usually in their 40s, 50s. And it's a long-term care policy that will give you a certain amount of coverage. For my example, my mom had like 3 years or $300,000 worth of coverage. And that was considered a low amount. And I think her premium when she started paying was about $1,500 a year. Once my mom turned 70, that premium jacked up to over 10 grand a year. And John did an article in Barron's paper I think just last year. We can share that with you to explain how high those premiums jacked up to the point. And this was a plan that would help care for him when he became infirm. It would pay for someone to come to the house to help you or help modify parts of your home. It's within a fixed dollar and a fixed period of time. But it was a plan that if you needed it to help you when you really needed assistance, it was there for you. And it gave you dignity in life, especially as you were getting more infirm and needed more help towards the end. And a lot of people purchase this policy. And then all of a sudden, as you get past a certain age, the policy becomes so expensive, it's prohibitive, and you can't maintain it.
I actually am somewhat familiar with this, not to John's level of experience and certainly not to your level of expertise. But, my parents are senior citizens, both of which have long-term care insurance. And, I've looked at different long-term care insurance options for myself and for my family. And I've seen, some explosive premium increases. But I think in general, the excessive premium increases on long-term care policies, and I'm not familiar specifically with what Genworth is doing, but whether we're talking Genworth or other providers, it's nothing short of predatory. And the fact that these increases were approved by the State Department of Financial Services, as appears to be the case, and at the highest level requested, it's outrageous. I think Superintendent Harris and the DFS, they're supposed to be the watchdogs here, not a rubber stamp for corporate profit at the expense of vulnerable seniors and people that aren't even seniors yet. These are people who planned ahead, like my parents, for instance. They paid into these policies for years, sometimes decades, expecting a basic level of stability and security. And now in retirement, often on fixed incomes, they're being forced to choose between keeping their coverage or affording rent, groceries, prescriptions, whatever else. That's not a system that's working for people. That's a system that's being gamed by insurers. So yes, John, I think it was. I oppose these kinds of increases. And while the city council doesn't control state insurance regulation, I can absolutely be a vocal advocate for hearings, transparency, coordinated pressure on DFS and the governor's office, especially where a lot of this lives and dies, to rein this in. The city can and should raise its voice when state policy harms its residents. And even though it's not directly an issue that I might be voting on, I'm not going to hesitate to do that because New Yorkers deserve protection, not price gouging.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Here's Joe again. Joe's coming in from LinkedIn. He says, Frank is on point. In Staten Island, we have one small Mount Sinai office on Richmond Road that's woefully understaffed, and it's hard to get an appointment for just your annual physical, never mind specialty care.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's my experience. I have not been there myself, but anecdotally, that's what I hear from friends and retirees myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Yep, Joe, I said that again. Lynn says, my mom passed from a 9/11 illness. I called NICERS and they wouldn't give me any information about her application for the 9/11 fund. So, Lynn, that's not going to be through NICERS. If you're talking about the Victims Compensation Fund, if your mom was represented by an attorney, typically that would be like Barish and McGarry. You would need to call the firm. If you don't know which attorney handled your mom's case, or if an attorney handled your mom's case, please reach out to the Victims Compensation Fund directly. They will tell you who was handling that case, if anyone, or if she did it directly with them. Okay. So Lois says, Frank, you have my vote.
Thank you. Thank you, Lois. I appreciate that sincerely. Very much so. If you want to sign up for a lawn sign or anything, you can go to my website, moranoforcouncil.com, and there's a tab to request a lawn sign. I'll be happy to bring one over.
Moranoforcouncil.com.
Moranoforcouncil.com. MORANO council.com. Yes.
I am putting that in the chat. You were also, all of the candidates we have endorsed are up on our political website, everyone, which is retiredlaborstrong.nyc, just so you guys know. And you'll find Frank's link there as well.
Thank you. Very proud of that, by the way.
Yes, we're proud of it too. Marcia says, I admire Frank so much for asking Marianne to define Ghost Network instead of nodding and pretending to know. This is so impressive. Nobody displays that level of honesty anymore. See, I told you, they love you, Frank.
Thank you. You know, one of the things you learn in radio is you can only fake being an expert in something that you don't know about for 45 seconds. But if it's anything longer than a 45-second conversation, it's much better to just come clean and admit you don't know, because nobody knows everything, especially not me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been on the radio for all these years. And
my mom always said there's no such question as a stupid question. So I agree. So John is updating you, telling you that there was a 271% increase in that policy, and the IG would not investigate elder abuse because that's what he thought. I'm going to send you that article. And John's one of our retirees, and he did this article in Barron's, just so you do know.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it. Thank you, John.
Why is the Working Family Party not supporting many of the people we support, like Stringer? Sorry for being a bit off point, but I like Morano's ideas. So, John, I'm going to answer that one because I was just posting the same thing on Justin Brannan was hooraying himself about being endorsed by the Working Family Party. I want to know why the Working Family Party isn't considering candidates that are not supporting protecting a retired workers' public health benefit of Medicare benefits, earned benefits. And my point to that is, listen, for those of us that have kids, and they may just be worried about the working families or the young people, but if we have problems in healthcare and we don't have access or don't have the money to pay for to treat us, or we become sick and infirm or disabled, and we can't take care of ourselves because we don't have insurance, for those of you that have kids, you're moving into your working family's home. And your kids are going to be taking care of you. So we keep trying to tell them, empower the person that earned their benefits to keep their benefits and be able to get the health care that they need so that they can live in dignity, so that they don't have to be a burden on family. That should be what they should be advocating. And as well, they're a progressive organization. Why are they not accepting it's progressive to protect an elder worker's healthcare benefit that was promised to them decades ago? So I have my own issues with the Working Family Party. I honestly think that a lot of these parties, I think we need to start our own party, to be honest. We need to start the retired labor party. And I think we're going to do our own endorsements like we are doing now, but we're just going to take this to the next level. What do you think of that, Frank?
I think that's great. You know, I've spent most of my life in the independent political sector, and I think that's great. And I hope you run a candidate this year, not just for mayor, but all the citywide offices. And, I'd be game for running on the retired labor party line for city council this November as well, irrespective of whether I win the Republican primary or not. The shame of it is, this is yet another area where Governor Cuomo has stifled free expression and democracy, because it used to be difficult to start your own party. You'd have to collect 15,000 signatures to run a candidate for governor and then get 50,000 votes. But if you did that, you were good for 4 years. You got ballot access for 4 years, and people could register in the retired Labor Party theoretically for 4 years. Now what they've done is they've made the number of signatures necessary, instead of 15,000, which was already difficult, they've made it 40,000, and the number of votes you need, instead of having it 50,000, which was already difficult, they made it 130,000 or 3%, whichever is greater. And if you somehow manage to catch lightning in a bottle and pull that off, you are only good for 2 years, not 4 years. So Cuomo really did this to target the Working Families Party, but what's happened in doing that is he's killed off all of the minor parties, with the exception of two. So it's more difficult than ever. But if you go that route, I'd love to run on the retired Labor Party line in November this year.
That's cool. I'm going to work on that as soon as I get off the call with you.
Please do. 450 signatures in my district, and I'd be happy to do my part and help collect them.
That sounds awesome. Janice is one of our retirees that lives on the West Coast. And she says again, and I'm sorry, Janice, I just want you to know, I live stream in here from like 8 different channels. And sometimes the comments move so fast, I don't see them. So she wants to know how people who don't live in your district or borough can support you.
Well, that's so nice, Janice. A couple of ways. One is if you know anybody that lives in the South Shore of Staten Island, that would be a huge help. Two, if you wouldn't mind, say, maybe recording a testimonial and tagging me in it and sharing it on social media, we'll share it as well. We'll amplify it. It's kind of the modern version of what they used to call a do me a favor letter. That would be a help. Additionally, if you go to our website, moranoforcouncil.com, and sign up to volunteer, we're doing virtual phone banks every week. And you can make calls from California or wherever you are. We're doing an hour or two a week on different days. May do it tomorrow because it's supposed to be raining in our district. And we're using volunteers that may not be in the area to make calls to voters that live here to get the word out. And obviously, you can always make a contribution. It doesn't count as much as if a New York City resident makes it, because you get 8 to 1 if it's made by a New York City resident. But I can take contributions from all over. And again, that's all at moranoforcouncil.com. So if you know anyone, please spread the word. If you can, record a video and put it on social media, tag me. Sign up to volunteer, and if you're so inclined, you can make a small contribution as well.
That's great. So you've only got a couple minutes left before your 7 p.m. out the door. As I promised you, you can take these next few minutes. They're yours. I am passing the microphone to you.
I saw one question. I don't remember who it was from, but it's an issue that I've paid a lot of attention to about privatizing Medicare. And I know that's not necessarily a New York City issue, but I think it's a cousin issue to everything that we've been talking about. And I just want to state that this push to privatize Medicare is one of the most alarming and underreported trends in American politics right now. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people know about this, but what I think a lot of people may not know is that it's not just coming from the usual suspects on the right. Some so-called progressives are looking the other way, or worse, actively enabling it by siding with powerful union leaders and health insurance lobbyists who are pushing retirees into Medicare disadvantage plans that restrict access, delay care, and put people over profit. So I totally oppose this trend completely. And what we're seeing is a slow motion betrayal of the very promise of Medicare, a program that has worked for decades because it was public, predictable, and centered on patient care. And when people say it's about saving money, I don't buy it. I think it's about shifting public dollars into private hands, plain and simple. But as far as, just in general, summing up kind of where I am and everything with respect to everything we spoke about, in the end, this fight is about more than just healthcare or pensions or retirees. It's about keeping the promises that were made to those who built and served this city. Retirees shouldn't have to fight for the benefits they've earned, but if that's what it takes, then we're in this fight together. And you have my word. I will never stop advocating for you. Hold me to that. I'll never stop pushing for transparency and holding those in power accountable, because it's what I've always done as a citizen, as a media personality, and as a good government activist. The city, the state, they all owe you a debt, and I'll make sure that debt is paid in full. Thank you, everybody, for your courage. Thank you for your resilience and your commitment to standing up for what's right. And together, I hope we'll make sure your voices are heard and your rights are protected. Most of all, thank you for inviting me to be a part of this and inviting me to be a part of our other conversation this week, caring what I have to say and taking the time to educate me on maybe some of the issues that I'm not well versed in.
That's fantastic. I can't thank you enough. And Laura is also saying she loves you. So
thank you. I love you, Laura. If you don't live in the 51st district, move out here. We need you.
Laura says, goodness, I love this guy. You nailed it, Frank.
Thank you, Laura. I appreciate it very much.
I appreciate you spending time with us, the intimate meeting that we had with our small group of retirees the other day, and then this where we're able to reach the masses. And this will live on our Facebook, our public page, our private page, our Instagram, our YouTube, where you can share it. It's also will be on X and LinkedIn. So we're making the moves, and you're streaming it. I can see here from into Facebook and Instagram at the same time. So if you are a New York City retiree, clearly the New York City municipal retirees are showing Frank the love today. So we appreciate you spending that time with us, understanding and learning about our issues and making them your issues. And we appreciate that. And as retired Labor Strong, we are behind you as retired Labor Strong, Frank. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marianne, for your leadership and your skills as an organizer. And the election is in 25 days. And I can assure you that whether I win or whether I lose, I certainly hope it's the former, that it's not going to be the end of our relationship. I hope it's just the beginning, and that we continue to work closely together on these issues and a host of other issues that we might see coming down the pike in the future.
Oh, we're family now, Frank.
Love it. Love it.
April 21st is early voting, everybody. Make sure you get out and early vote on April 21, and then the election is on April 29th. If you didn't make it out for early voting, and I will put that in the chat too, April 21st is early voting. April 29th is the election. Everyone, thank you for being here tonight, and we appreciate you, Frank, and we will see you on the air another day.
Thank you. I just put my email in the chat as well. Anybody can should feel free to email me at any time, and if I don't get back to you within a day, Marianne knows how to get in touch with me at any time. She's got a special bat signal. She puts that bat signal up, and I answer quickly. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Good night, guys. I appreciate you. Bye-bye. All right, everyone, I'm going to call it a night. Thank you. Make sure you do your homework. Make sure that you have your calendar dates in. April, as he said, April 21st is early voting. April 29th is the election. Make sure you have our dates. April 16th, we are going to City Hall for a rally for Jim Walden, who's running as an independent for mayor. And then the 17th is our in-person, first time inaugural event for mayor. We are holding an in-person event at the Graduate Center. It's a CUNY facility, and the address was it's invitation only. It is in our newsletter, and you have to click the link to register for it. And then probably about next week, we will be sending you confirmation emails that your registration has been accepted. Every person in your party must attend. So if you want to bring your spouse, I need to have both names and an email address. That would be April 17th is that day, in-person mayoral forum. And then May 15th, I also need you to sign up for the buses. We're going to Albany for court. We're arguing the Benkowski case to defend the 2 lower appeals. Also, April 1st started our 2025 round of our fundraiser for the first time since 2024. So we held off for 3 months like we usually do, give everyone a little bit of a reprieve from the holidays and start to get your campaign donations out. And we start back up April 1. So we're going to put up another thermometer, and I'll post that up on the board this weekend. I'll send out the email this weekend so you know all the dates again. You have the links to register for the bus and also for the in-person mayoral forum. And we're also asking you to do a third one. I want to make sure you're coming to the live event with a rally on the 16th for Jim. And if you did want an in-person rally with a petition signing in your borough, he needs to know what boroughs want to see him there. And that's if you can't get to Manhattan on the 16th of April, okay? And then he would like to come to your district. If you're going to sign his petition, you must not have signed a petition for any other party person for mayor. So if you signed a petition for anyone running for mayor already, you cannot sign his. But we'll make sure you know all of that as well. I will put that in the newsletter. Maya says, thank you for explaining ghost networks. Oh my God, everybody does it. Per healthcare's business model, list of participating doctors. Yeah, try and connect with one. I absolutely know. Ellen, donation done. Thank you so much, Ellen. We do appreciate that tremendously. Sandy, your energy is contagious. I believe you. Good luck on the election. The city needs you. He was a fantastic candidate, wasn't he? And this is why I say this. Like, sometimes we'll get an email from an angry retiree going, why are you getting involved in politics? Listen, if you don't elect candidates or council members or electeds, politicians, any office that support you, you're never going to get your legislation passed. We have a board of how many, 40 something people over there that have not supported you. And yet they want to say they support you. Some of them will get on the bill. They won't even talk to you. And then they want to say, look, I support you. No, you don't support me. You got on the bill for cover because you didn't want us to come after you or endorse an opposition candidate. In one case, we signed up, we supported a candidate that was opposing the incumbent, and the incumbent got angry. And we said, you've ghosted us for a year. You've done nothing to help us. You didn't come to our rallies. You didn't answer our phone calls, and then you get on our bill. Show me you love me. Don't tell me you do. Show me you do. And getting on my bill doesn't show me anything. Because look at all the people that said that they supported us last year and got on the bill last year when there was an election, but they're not on the bill this year. That doesn't mean anything to me. That means you got my back when it's convenient for you, not when I really need it. That don't have my back. So we call them that shit out all day long. How come Scott Stringer's name is still going on the... Oh my goodness, I didn't even see that. Miriam, you should have told me that before. Oh my goodness, that means the whole time Frank was here, I should have had his on there, not Scott. Oh my goodness. So I will apologize to Frank for that. But Frank's website is in the chat. It's Morano for Council. .com. So make sure that you do have you donate to him. That was from last week when we did. Thank you, Miriam. I wish you had told me that an hour ago. But thank you very much for telling me. Now I took it off. See, I need you guys. I really need you. I didn't even see that one. All right, everybody. Those are all your homework. I don't think I have anything else. The Bentkowski case, if you want to read the briefs, because some of you have asked, you can go to our website, nycretirees.org. You can go to the top and you can click it says more up at the top, and then look for, hold on, I forget what it is. Look for, whoops, NYC, I think it's like updates or something. Latest developments. So go to our website, nycretirees.org, go to latest developments, and you'll see it'll talk about what happened in April, and there'll be a link to go to the Bentkowski case. Now, it'll bring you to the court docket. Once you get to the docket, just type in the word Bentkowski, Bentkowski, and then the docket will come up. Click it. You want to see all the documents, click that. And then all the documents will come up. The first one or two at the top is the city documents, and then a bunch of them says not available yet. Go to the bottom of the list. There's ours. And then you could read ours, exactly what Jake had written into the case, and that's there too. So you could read all of that. Just remember, the top brief is the city. The bottom brief is our brief. All right. I am calling it a night, guys. How is Mr. Bentkowski doing? I haven't spoken to him in a few weeks, Camille, and I will definitely reach out to him. And thank you for all the work you are doing, Camille, you and Marcia and Annie. It's phenomenal that you guys are working so hard together to help us out as our Women Warrior team and making those connections to get our support for our legislation. So I just want you guys to know I appreciate you. All right, everyone, say a good night to all the moderators. Thank them for all the great work that they're doing, and thank all of you for listening. And I will let you know who will be coming to visit us next. As soon as I get that scheduled, I will let you know. Thank you for staying with us and for supporting everything that we're doing. We truly do appreciate you. And thank you to Frank Morano for coming back on twice this week, once in our small setting to answer your questions privately, and then today doing it in a very quite public way, transparently showing that he has your back. And that I truly do appreciate. That is a council person that if he gets elected, he will truly stand up for you. And that's exactly what you need. Now you understand the difference from those who say they support you and those who are willing to publicly say that they do. So everyone, you have a great night. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you Monday. Ciao.
Don't speak what you don't understand. The truth is not in your command. Don't shout about what you think is fake. The decision isn't yours to make. Don't lie about the way things are. Tall tales will take you very far. Don't scoff when they say it's the end. In this life, you know you can't pretend. The days pass by.